Hello, dear friends. I feel after the eclipse like I have been beaten up, but there's nothing a good coffee drank at the right time can remedy. Opinion piece. Message from the Hollow Earth, received by James Gilliland. An incredible world awaits us. They want to unite with humankind. We are all family at soul level. The condition is that we join. They would be a mixture of Atlanteans and Lemurians. Their civilization is dedicated to universal law. Tyranny lives only on fear and ignorance. There has been an intergalactic war above and below. There are tunnels under South America and Central Asia. The Earth has a long history of invasion and manipulation. It is time to wake up, rise up, and join to the rest of the universe. The action-reaction of so-called karma will expand and accelerate. It is time to end draconian law and move towards universal law. It is a process that no one can stop, neither man, nor woman, nor technology. The writer Lady Paget said that an entrance to the subterranean realm will be discovered. Various writers from around the world have published accounts of the Hollow Earth. The greatest of all tyrants was the most wanted and abandoned as child. Let's start. In quotes, tyranny lives solely on fear and ignorance. Do what is right in the service of humankind and the earth. It is time to wake up, rise up, unify, and join the rest of the universe in peace. An amazing world awaits you. This is the conclusion of an analyzed message from Inner Earth received by James Gilliland of SETI News from the Mebians, which I reproduce below in its entirety. In quotes all the message. We are a race of beings who went into a wide range of caverns during the last pole shift. We are a combination of Atlanteans and Lemurians. There were already several races living inside, some extremely advanced, more energetic than physical. To these beings, we owe our survival and the ability to continue evolving. There are human beings. You could not recognize any difference between our people and humans on the surface. We are more genetically refined. We have advanced technologies for energy, transportation, and healing. We are a very ancient civilization, builders of megaliths and stone temples. It has always been our desire to return to the surface and join with the rest of Earth's humanity, using our wisdom and technology to assist in many of the challenges facing surface humankind. We have transcended war, disease, poverty, and lack of anything. Although our needs are simple, we are part of a star alliance with the ability to travel at hyperlight and interdimensional speed. We are not motivated by profit, and we prefer quality over quantity, the natural over the synthetic. This leaves much less of a footprint on our environment, which is balanced and prosperous. Conditions. Before we can consider unifying with terrestrial humans on the surface must find unity. On our world, there are many life forms, some highly evolved, some less evolved. Our civilization is composed of very tall beings of medium stature, and very short beings, just as on the surface. Only there is more of a variety. More races, cultures, and colors are represented inside. We have found that communicating, listening attentively, without judgment, releasing the past, old grudges. Seeking common bonds and goals is the path to unity. Being of service to the whole community in all its diversity was first and foremost. Those blessed with abundance, superior knowledge, ability to heal and provide effectively helped those less fortunate. Our civilization is dedicated to universal law, creating the opportunity for each individual to reach his or her full potential. Because of this, we experience a quantum leap in evolution by living an abundant, loving, and happy life in harmony with each other and the environment. Earthlings on the surface can do the same if they so desire. Prerequisite. There is a prerequisite before this process can begin. Earthlings need to unify for the common good. This means transcending all religious, cultural, and racial boundaries. Although there are many races, religions, cultures, each individual has a soul. That soul comes from the Creator God, the Great Spirit, the unified field of consciousness and energy, whatever name or description you want to give it. We are all family at the soul level. We are all connected. The source from which we come, in its most unlimited understanding, is pure and conditional love, joy and bliss. It loves and serves the supreme and eternal power in the multiverse. When each individual establishes his or her own personal connection to that source, wars, disease, and poverty end. It really is that simple. It is overcoming the complexity of intellect, competition, fear, survival, socially engineered ignorance of the false narrative of division that needs to be conquered. Almost all wars are wars within oneself, generated by wounds, traumas, erroneous conclusions from past experiences, limiting mental concepts. There was never a holy war. Only one king or leader wanted what another had, using fear, religion, and division to ignite armies. This has played out in Earth's history. The greatest of all tyrants was the most wounded and abandoned as a child, seeking love, respect, self-esteem, and power over others. No one ever taught them all that this is eternal, comes from within, and that the external is transitory, ever-changing, an uncheckable thirst that never satisfies. Love, joy, happiness, and approval are not to be sought externally, but within the soul, which is your connection to Source. There you are loved, accepted, and approved beyond imagination. No words can encapsulate the love of the Creator. It is also qualities of self-mastery to know the difference between being intelligent and wise. The intellect and altered ego are already, I talked to you about this, generating reasons to fail. Abduction and restoration. The very old wet, Ilakesh, has two translations. One is greet my other self, the other is the God in me greets the God in you. In some cultures, they don't even have a word for me or you. This is the basis of our civilization. This is a similar understanding were once the basis of the surface of the earth. They were hijacked by lesser negative forces over time. Now is the time to return to it. And due to natural cosmic cycles, evolution, and Earth's ascension, which didn't return to universal law, it's no longer an option, what some call unity consciousness, but a necessity. Ours and other advanced civilizations of the stars, many of which are your ancient ancestors, are here only to empower and assist in this transition. Earth has a long history of invasion and manipulation by other forces with other planets. There has been an intergalactic war in the skies, and also below your Earth. This was to remove these visible and invisible negative influences. These wars were dimensional and temporary. The benevolent beings within, the forces without, the galactic and interdimensional beings have succeeded in eliminating the vast majority of these influences. This is a step in the direction of ending tyranny, draconian law, and moving toward universal law. Hierarchical networks of these visible and invisible negative influences still exist on Earth. They are woven into all aspects of government, religion, and all institutions. They are known for their unbridled greed and lust for power. They do not serve the greater good. They do not empower human beings, but dominate them. These leaders and their realms do not have a specific frequency of Earth's evolution to higher states of consciousness. Action-reaction, or what some call karma, will be amplified and accelerated. Everything that cannot adapt, transform, or align with universal law will diminish or collapse completely. It is a process that no one can stop. Excuse me, it's my cat. No man or woman, no technology. We must take the path of Mother Earth, who is gradually moving up from one dimension to another, moving into a higher consciousness and energy, a new way of life. And those who choose this path have our full support. This is the right thing. This does not mean that we will do everything for you. Everyone has to make his work. Everyone has to do their part, take their stand to the right thing in the service of humankind and the earth. Tyranny lives solely on fear and ignorance. It is time to wake up, rise up, unify, and join the rest of the universe in peace. An amazing world awaits you. Do what is right in service to humankind and the earth. It is time to awaken, arise, unify, and join the rest of the universe in peace. An incredible world awaits you. End of message. Definition. Hollow Earth is a concept that proposes that planet Earth is completely hollow or contains substantial inner space. Hollow Earth belief, or intraterrestrial belief, is a claim that highly evolved subterranean civilizations of so-called intraterrestrial beings exist within planet Earth. Proponents of this belief advocate that there are two openings, one at each pole, which are guarded and kept secret by some governments of the world, as well as a system of galleries intended to communicate distant places through the subsoil. Other versions of the belief affirm that the interior of the earth floats a sun that gives life to an interior and inhabited earth without nights, with a tropical climate and gravity at 6.7 g. Others affirm that the movement of the tectonic plates is due to the fact that the earth is increasing in size. In the center of the openings of each pole there would be no gravity, and the sea would sink through one of them until it leaves through the other, which would serve as a naval and migratory route to the interior. Origin. Origin of the intraterrestrial beings in the inhabitants of ancient civilizations of lost continents. The famous Russian occultist writer Elena Petrovna Blavatsky revealed the existence of Agartha, a subterranean country in caverns and tunnels in a hollow earth with an internal sun, with capital in Shambhala, under the Gobi desert, where the king of the world, Sanat Kumara, would live and control the entire planet for centuries. The writer Hui Yong-yang of the Gaia Project affirms that in the interior of the Earth would be found the survivors of the disappeared continents of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, such as Atlantic, Lemuria, Hyperborea, etc., and that they would have formed a civilization much more developed than ours. It also affirms that these human beings would communicate with the surface and even with beings from other worlds through supposed oceanic gates such as the famous Bermuda Triangle, and in other places such as mountain tops or sites of power like Stonehenge or Cape Finisterre in Spain. There are also several beliefs that place these interterrestrial beings as beings that originally came from other worlds, long before the appearance of human beings, and that would have chosen these subway tunnels as place to live. That is why there are those who indicate that they should also be studied by ufology. Traditions. The idea of subterranean realms was intertwined with the concept of places of origin or beyond, such as the Greek underworld, the Norse Svartalfheimr, the Christian hell, and the Jewish Sheol. The idea of a subterranean realm is also mentioned in Tibetan Buddhist belief, a very ancient city called Shambhala that would be found within the earth. In Hindu mythology, the underworld is known as Patala. In the Bengali version of the Hindu epic Ramayana, it has been depicted how Rama and Lakshmana were captured by the underworld king Ahiravan, brother of the demon king Ravana. They were later rescued by Hanuman, the monkey god. The Angami Naga tribes of India claim that their ancestors arose in ancient times from within the earth. Excuse me. Novelist Lobsang Rampa, in his book The Cave of Ancients, said that there is a system of subway chambers beneath the Himalayas of Tibet, full of ancient machinery, records and treasures. Michael Gramley, a cryptozoologist, has linked Bigfoot and other hominid cryptids to ancient subway tunnel systems. According to a former astronaut writer Peter Colosimo, a robot was seen entering a tunnel under a monastery in Mongolia. He also claimed that a light was seen from underground in Azerbaijan. He and other early astronaut writers such as Robert Charroux linked these activities to UFOs. Explorer Ferdinand Ossendowski wrote a book in 1922 titled Beasts, Men and Goats. He said he was talked to about a subway kingdom existing within the earth and was known to Buddhists as Agartha. George Papastli, in his book Anything Can Happen, 1940, claimed the discovery in the Caucasus Mountains of a cavern containing human skeletons with heads as big as bushel baskets, and an ancient tunnel leading to the center of the earth. A man entered the tunnel and never returned. America. The Tainos of Cuba believed that their ancestors emerged in ancient times from two caves in a subway mountain. Mexican folklore also talked about a cave in a mountain 5 miles south of Ojinaga, and that Mexico is possessed by diabolical creatures that came from the interior of the earth. The Brazilian Indians, who live along the Parima River in Brazil, claim that their ancestors arose in ancient times from a subway land, and that many of their ancestors still remained inside the earth. The ancestors of the Inca supposedly came from caves east of Cuzco, Peru. In Native American mythology, it is said that the ancestors of the Mandan people in ancient times emerged from a subway land through a cave on the north side of Missouri River. There is also a story about a tunnel on the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation in Arizona, near Cedar Creek, that is said to lead into the earth to a land inhabited by a mysterious tribe. It is also the belief of the Iroquois tribes that their ancestors emerged from a subway world. The elders of the Hopi tribe believe that there is an entrance in the Grand Canyon, called Sipapu, that would lead to the underworld. In Oceania, the natives of the Trobriand Islands, which are east of Papua New Guinea, believe that their ancestors had come from a subway land through a cavern hole called Obgula. Other legends. According to the ancient Greeks, there were caverns beneath the surface, which were entrances leading to the underworld. In Mesopotamian religion, there is a story of a man who, after traveling through the darkness of a tunnel in the mountain of Mashu, entered a subway garden. In Celtic mythology, there is a legend of a cave called Cruachan, also known as Island's Gateway to Hell, a mythical and ancient cave from which, according to legend, strange creatures would emerge and be seen on the surface of the earth. There are also accounts of medieval knights and saints who went on pilgrimage to a cave located on the Station Island, County Donegal in Ireland, where they made journeys into the earth to a place of purgatory. In County Down, Northern Ireland, there is a myth that tunnels lead to the subway land of Tuatha De Danann, a group of people who are believed to have introduced the Druid religion to Ireland and then returned underground. The New Testament, Paul of Tarsus wrote in a letter to the Philippians, in quotes, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of those in heaven and on earth, and under the earth. Close quotes. John the Evangelist wrote, and no one in heaven, or on earth, or under the earth again, could open the book or even look into it. Close quotes. In the Middle Ages, an ancient German myth held that some mountains located between Eisenach and Gotha had a portal to the interior of the earth. A Russian legend says that the Samoyeds, an ancient Siberian tribe, traveled to a cave city to live inside the earth. The Italian writer Dante Alighieri describes a hollow earth in his well-known 14th century work Inferno, in which Lucifer's fall from heaven caused a huge funnel to appear in a previously solid spherical earth, as well as a huge mountain in front of it called Purgatory. The notion of the underground was further popularized by the non-fiction world, The Underworld, The Universal Nature of Riches, a scientific textbook written by Athanasius Kircher and published in 1665. The work describes the geography of the earth through descriptions as well as lavish illustrations. Kircher speculated that there is an intricate system of cavities and water channel connecting the poles. Athanasius Kircher was a Jesuit priest and scientist of the 7th century. This learned man left a wealth of work ranging from the study of Chinese to an attempt to decipher the undecipherable Voynich manuscript to a perpetual motion machine. Hypothesis. Edmund Halley conjectured in 1692 that the Earth might consist of a hollow shell about 800 kilometers thick, two inner concentric layers, and an innermost core. Atmospheres separate these layers, and each layer has its own magnetic poles. The spheres would rotate at different speeds. Halley proposed this scheme to explain anomalous compass readings. He visualized the atmosphere in the interior as luminous and possibly inhabited, and speculated that gas leakage caused the aurora borealis. Leclerc-Milford in 1781 led a trip with hundreds of Creek Indians to a series of caves near the Red River above the Mississippi River crossing. According to Milford, it is believed that the original ancestors of the Creek Indians emerged to the surface of the earth in ancient times from the caverns. Milford also stated that the caverns they saw could easily contain 15,000 to 20,000 families. Mathematician Leonard Euler proposed a single-layered hollow Earth with a small sun at the center at 1,000 kilometers in diameter, which would provide light and heat for a civilization from Earth's interior. 19th century. In 1818, John Cliff Symes, Jr. suggested that the Earth consisted of a hollow layer approximately 1,300 kilometers thick, with openings approximately 2,300 kilometers wide at both poles, with four inner layers, each open at the poles. Symes became the most famous advocate of the hollow Earth, and Hamilton, Ohio, even has a monument to him and his ideas. He proposed to make an expedition to the North Pole Hole. Symes' son, Americus, published Symes' theory of concentric spheres. In 1878, McBride wrote about Symes' theory. In 1826. In 1868, Professor W.F. Lyons published the Hollow Globe, which presented a hypothesis similar to Symes'. Jeremiah Reynolds also lectured on the Hollow Earth and advocated an expedition, and went on an expedition to Antarctica himself. In 1864, in Journey to the Center of the Earth, Jules Verne described a hollow Earth containing two rotating binary stars called Pluto and Proserpina. William Fairfield Warren, in his book Paradise Found, the Cradle of the Human Race at the North Pole, 1885, presented his belief that mankind originated on an Arctic continent called Hyperborea. This influenced some of the early Hollow Earth advocates. According to Marshall Gardner, both the Eskimo and Mongol peoples would have come from the interior of the Earth through an entrance at the North Pole. 20th century. Negua, or the Problem of the Ages, first published in a newspaper printed in Topeka, Kansas, in 1900, mentions John Cliff Symes' theory to explain its setting in a hollow Earth. William Reed wrote The Ghost of the Poles in 1906. He supported the idea of a hollow Earth, but without inner shells or inner sun. The spiritualist writer Walburga, Lady Paget, in her book Colloquies with an Invisible Friend, 1907, was one of the first writers to mention the Hollow Earth hypothesis. She stated that cities exist under a desert, which is where the people of Atlantis moved. She said that an entrance to the subterranean realm will be discovered in the 21st century. Marshall Gardner wrote A Journey to the Interior of the Earth in 1913 and published an expanded edition in 1920. He placed an inner sun on Earth and built a working model on the Hollow Earth, which he patented. U.S. Patent 1096102. Vladimir Obruchev wrote a novel entitled Plutonia, in which the Hollow Earth possessed an inner sun and was inhabited by prehistoric species. The interior was connected to the surface by an opening in the attic. A book by Dr. Raymond Bernard that appeared in 1964, The Hollow Earth, reveals that the UFOs come from the interior of the Earth and adds the idea that the Ring Nebula proves the existence of hollow earths, as well as a speculation about the fate of Atlantis. The science fiction magazine Amazing Stories promoted one such idea between 1945 and 1949 as the Shaver Mystery. The magazine's editor, Ray Palmer, published a series of articles by Richard Sharp Shaver, claiming that a superior prehistoric race would have built a honeycomb of caves on Earth, and that their descendants, known as the Dero, still live there using the fantastic machines abandoned by ancient races to torment those of us living on the surface. As a feature of this torment, Shaver described voices that came from no explainable source. Thousands of readers wrote to claim that they too had heard diabolical voices from within the Earth. Writer David Hatcher Childress authored Lost Continents and the Hollow Earth, 1998, in which he reprinted Palmer's stories and defended the Hollow Earth idea based on tunnel systems beneath South America and Central Asia. Hollow Earth proponents have claimed several different locations for entrances leading to the interior of the Earth. Aside from the North and South Poles, entrances at locations that have been cited include Paris in France, Staffordshire in England, Montreal in Canada, Hangzhou in China, and the Amazon rainforest. In fiction, the idea of a hollow earth is a common element in fiction, having appeared in Ludwig Holberg's 1741 novel The Underground Travels of Niels Klim, in which the protagonist falls through a cave and spends several years living in a smaller globe both inside and within the outer shell. Giacomo Casanova wrote in 1788 De Icosameron, a story of a brother and sister who fall to earth and discover the subterranean utopia of the Megamicres, a race of multicolored hermaphrodite dwarfs. Even the famous horror writer Edgar Allan Poe talked about Earth's interior. Josh Sandler's 1864 novel, Journey into the Crystals, reveals that giant crystals could be found in the interior of the Earth. The Smoky God is another 1908 novel that included the idea that the North Pole would be the entrance to the hollow planet. The idea was used by Edgar Rice Burroughs, the creator of Tarzan, in the 7-novel series Pellucidar. Using a mechanical drill, his heroes discover a prehistoric world below the surface, which is illuminated by a constant inner sun and noon. They find prehistoric people, dinosaurs, and prehistoric mammals. In recent decades, the idea has become a staple of science fiction and adventure genres in movies, TV shows, role-playing games, and video games. In popular art, in 1975, Japanese artist Tadanori Yoko used elements of the Agartha legend to depict an advanced civilization on the cover of jazz musician Miles Davis' album Agartha. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.